Hello everyone, welcome back to Fanblade. I'm on holiday! Yes, I've cleaned the workshop. I've done a proper job of cleaning this workshop out. I've cleared the side bench, I've vacuumed out the metalworking area, including cleaning the lathe, although it doesn't work. I've sorted out all the spare parts into bins. I've even sorted out the wood rack and the electronics bench. That hasn't been cleared in a long time, neither has the lathe. It's been covered in offcuts from the bandsaw, which is right there, but that's all cleared off now. I have vacuumed all of the sawdust out, fixed the drill press. Everything is clean. This is the cleanest and most organised that this garage has ever been. I also bought a proper GoPro so that I can do handheld shots without my shaky hands ruining everything. Good. So the question is, what am I going to do with these holidays? Well, I'm going to build a base, obviously. I've already got a head start even. This body blank was made when I did the electric upright base a few months ago, and I had to cut this out because I needed some of the offcuts to make the body for the upright base. So I asked my dear viewers at that time, what should I do with this? I got quite a lot of answers. Somebody said I should do a Marlowe Diva style bass with like a 3-octave fingerboard going all the way up, a 6-string bass, electric sitar. That might be fun. A piccolo bass, a baritone guitar, and somebody else wanted, because this is quite thick, Dave Cobley suggested doing a Spectre-style carved top. Now, I am definitely going to do that, but all of these other suggestions for 3-octave fingerboard, piccolo bass, baritone guitar, really it is going to be some sort of extended range instrument, and I have settled on, because I'm a massive Robert Smith and The Cure fan, a Bass 6. Now, I could go into a lot of the history of the Fender Bass 6. I'm not going to. It is long and involved, and all you really need to know is that the Beatles used one. That's good enough for me. There's also quite a lot of debate online as to whether it is actually a bass or whether it is a baritone guitar. A baritone guitar is tuned a fourth below a standard guitar tuning. A bass is tuned an octave below standard guitar tuning. This is tuned in the same intervals as a regular guitar, but it is a full octave below. It is firmly in the bass range. You plug it into a bass amp, it'll make bass noises. I mean, it's in the name, Bass 6. So that's what's happening. And we've got a pretty decent head start on it as well. I've even got a neck blank. This was a byproduct of having cut out so many neck blanks, you occasionally wind up with a spare. The scale length of a standard Fender Bass 6 is 30 inches, I believe, and that gives us plenty to work with. I mean, there's a bit of a knot hole at that end. We're going to cut it off about there, probably. I don't know. I actually need to do some measurements. I actually need to do some design work because I don't know how wide this neck's going to be. Pretty sure that should be wide enough. I'd like to check it. I think it's time to design a Bass 6. And just another side note, for legal reasons, I'm using the Hindu Arabic numeral 6 as opposed to the Roman numeral VI, purely for legal reasons. That is a trademark of Fender Corporation, and I do not want to infringe on their copyright because I can't afford the lawsuit, frankly. So, Bass 6 it is. I've tidied everything up and now I can't find my masking tape. let's go through some of the hardware that I've bought for this thing, because I've made a few choices. And one of the first choices I made was that on a body which, by the time it's all finished, is going to be a fairly dark brown, and I decided to go for some nice, bright, shiny chrome, because I like chrome, and it's been a while since I've used any. So there's a bridge. That is a hardtail bridge. Of course, the regular base 6s have the tremolo bar on them. Whammy bar, vibrato arm, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. I'm not using one. I don't play with one, and I would prefer the tuning stability that comes from a hardtail bridge. So there you go. This one, of course, is designed for through-body stringing. So I've bought some string ferrules to set into the back of the body, and I'm going to have to drill those through before doing any of the sculpting on the body, simply because if it might get a little bit wibbly-wobbly on the drill press, and that would not be great. Strings. Diodario make a set of strings that are specifically designed for the Fender Bass 6. Nice and thick. There's all the tension information and everything on the side of the pack, which is a nice touch, and it says here, specifically designed for a 30-inch scale. So, yeah, perfect. Exactly what I need there. Now, for pickups, I've got a couple of options. Now, on the original ones, there is, of course, the 3 pickup, sort of like a Strat arrangement, except they're not specifically Strat pickups. They have this weird, I think they call it a magnetic aggregator. There's like this weird claw thing on each pickup. I don't know what that does. I haven't got the time to try and figure that out. All I've got is an old set of Strat pickups that I believe are from an early 80s Japanese-made Strat. There's no markings on them whatsoever. I do not know if these are any good. I'm not inclined to actually use these. I'm sort of inclined to go with option A, which is in fact chrome. Can you guess? I've bought some humbuckers, and these are rather fetching looking pickups, and they actually have the option. I can wire these to a switch to actually switch them into single coil mode anyway. So a little bit more versatile, and of course they'll look a bit better. All of the reviews on AliExpress for these pickups said positive things, like very high output, nice thick sound, so I'm hoping for good things from those. Of course, some chrome pickup covers. Pickup rings, I should say. They're going to look a bit good. Yeah, I'm sort of really looking forward to seeing this thing put together. I'll probably do some actual measuring out to figure out where's the best placement for these, because I like to have a pickup around about the 37th fret, and then I'm probably going to put this one as close to the neck as possible, although I'm still debating the number of frets I'm going to have on here and the actual placement of everything. So yeah, it's all, it's a work in progress, but I'm getting there. Now, at the other end of the body, of course, I'm going to need some tuners. And for that, I have, of course, bought a reasonable set of tuners, again, from AliExpress. And really, the key to buying stuff off AliExpress and getting good quality stuff is don't buy the cheapest one. You can buy a set of tuners on AliExpress for $7. They will be rubbish. I think these are about 20-something bucks. And they're excellent quality. The chrome work is nice. All the gears feel very smooth. The only thing I am actually worried about, and this is a genuine concern, I know the original Fender 6s had just had regular guitar tuners on there, but I don't know about the size of the hole in the tuner. That 84 gauge string there isn't going to go through that hole. I think I'm going to have to probably drill out maybe a couple of tenths of a millimetre just to stuff it in there. So, yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, but that is a potential source of angst, shall we say, taking off just enough and not a smidge more, because otherwise, of course, you risk making that bit too weak and it just snaps off as soon as you try and tune it up. And if that happens, then you've got serious problems. But that is all the hardware that I've got for it. So yeah, let's get on and do some actual woodwork, because I've got a neck to put a scarf joint in. Alright, it is the next day, these clamps are ready to come off, and I've had a complete rethink of my entire design. Is anyone really surprised? The more I was looking at this, the more I realised I'm going to try and fit 6 strings in that space. It just doesn't seem like it's wide enough to me. And granted, we're not dealing with regular thickness bass strings, I'm uneasy about that, so I want to actually pull the strings out and just see them in place, sort of find a way to just sort of lay them out and just hold them down so I can see what it's actually going to look like, because it just feels like it's going to be cramped, and all the research that I did suggests that most people find these things pretty cramped. The bridge has 11mm spacing on it. I just don't think it's enough. I want to do 13, which means I'm going to have to make my own bridge. That, of course, is going to pull the strings away from the pole pieces on those pickups, which means I'm going to have to try and make my own pickup as well. The other aspect of this that I've kind of got wrong as I've done this is that I've designed this to have 22 frets up to there simply because I couldn't get you can't get your hand any further up. If I was going to stick 24 on there, then they'd be unplayable anyway. But then I realised that, of course, my 12th fret is there, and I'd really prefer that to be in line with the top horn so that as it's hanging off the strap, the 12th fret is kind of in a familiar position. It's kind of where you're expecting it to be anyway. So basically, shift this entire thing that way a couple of inches, which of course is going to mean that the bridge winds up in the middle of the body. Now, I designed this body to accommodate a full-scale bass guitar, so the bridge has always been right down the end here, but having the bridge in the middle of the body isn't actually a bad thing, because look at a Les Paul. look at an SG, look at a Strat. All of those bridges are right in the middle of the body, and also that would then give me a bit more leeway to sculpt and carve the top. I could get a much more sort of rounded thing going on around there. So that's good. So, all of this hinges, though, on pulling these strings out, laying them out, and seeing whether or not I think this is actually going to look okay and be okay. I really want to double check my working before I go and make a horrible mistake, because I've done that before. It wasn't great. Okay, I feel like if you're a guitar player primarily and you're used to this string spacing and you're playing with a pick, that's not going to be a problem. A bass player coming along and trying to play fingerstyle on this is going to have a lot of problems. I'm probably not the guy who's going to wind up primarily playing this. In fact, I might even struggle with it a little bit, but I'm sure there will be people out there who have absolutely no trouble ripping it up on this thing. This is fine. I'm going to go with plan A on that regard. But, of course, plan B as far as the scale length goes. I say scale length, I actually just simply mean scale placement on the body. We'll shift the whole thing that way. The main factor in deciding that that's absolutely necessary is, in fact, the truss rod that I have here, which is, of course, way too long for the neck that I have drawn. If that's sort of the 22nd fret, then we're looking at least 24, possibly even 26. And this whole thing's going to have to shift that way quite a bit. So, this is fine. Ironing out the kinks on paper before we make them in wood. Speaking of which, it is time to cut a fingerboard and install this truss rod. Right. Normally, at this point, while we wait for the neck to dry, I would do things to the body. Unfortunately, it's already kind of done. I can't actually do anything else to it because the next on the agenda for that body is the neck pocket, so I kind of need to finish the neck before I can really proceed with that. But in the meantime, I have sort of done a few measurements on this thing, and I've worked out where everything's going to go. The bridge is going to sit there. That's going to be nice. The end of the neck is still going to hit that point. It's going to have 27 frets. And of course the headstock is going to sit up there just like that. That's not bad actually. It feels like it's a little bit longer, but it's actually shorter than a P-bass. This is fine. This is actually going to work quite nicely. It's going to put the 12th fret right where it should go for balance. That's just going to be great. Now, while I was doing all of these measurements, I of course figured out that I've got limited space to put the pickups, and I thought it might be a fun opportunity to go on a bit of a deep dive on pickup placement theory, because it's not that complicated. I had a discussion with my good friend Peter Stephen, who is a professional luthier. I'm not just making this up. When I was doing the electric upright bass, he pointed out that when you have an electric pickup on any instrument, it's only ever going to pick up the sound at that point. On an acoustic instrument, you need a piezo on the bridge because that's the only way to get the fundamental sound of the entire string. That's, where the big bass comes from, is that the very first harmonic, that entire thing. In fact, I'm actually going to draw all of this out because this particular plan is wrong. I'm going to have to redraw it, so I thought, let's draw some harmonics on it. So the fundamental harmonic is that length. Then you get the second harmonic, which vibrates across that length with, of course, a node at the 12th fret where it crosses the centre line. And every time you go up a harmonic, of course, things get shorter. The third harmonic, for example. Looks like that. The fourth harmonic. Apologies for my wiggly lines. So every time that you go up a harmonic, of course, things get incrementally shorter until you've got some really, really high harmonics and it's just a line like that. Now, what does this mean for pickup placement? Well, what it means is that these really, really high frequencies are happening across the entire length of the string. If your pickup, if the coil is capable of producing those frequencies, then it actually doesn't matter where you put it, you're always going to get that high end. It's the low end that increases the further up you go. And obviously, if you want to get the entirety of that first fundamental, you need to put a pickup right on the 12th fret. And that's not particularly practical. So we stick it back down here, but that is the reason why neck pickups always sound a whole lot sort of bassier and fatter than bridge pickups, is because the reduced volume of those lower frequencies in that position. Now, I have here a list that I've taken, some measurements from all various basses around the place, just to figure out what is the optimum position, because I've always said that I love a pickup in the 37th position, 37th fret position, and I say fret position because it's all relative to scale length. I can't give you an actual measurement for this, because as soon as you change the scale, everything changes. So the 37th fret position seems to my ears to be the best balance between all of those high frequencies and the fundamental lower harmonics. That's my preferred sound. But what's really interesting though is all the different basses and where they get their characteristic sound from. For example, a P bass is about 32.5 frets. so it's up a bit. A jazz bass has one at the 29th fret and the 45th. So, that's why you get such a dramatic difference between those two sounds. And of course, a Rickenbacker has one, well, I measured my Rickenbacker, and it's the 23rd fret and the 34th fret. Weirdly, they've actually got more low end in them than a Music Man, and yet everybody thinks Rickenbackers are these trebly clanky things. I think that might have more to do with the actual sound of the coils than the pickups themselves. So what does any of this mean for this instrument that I'm building then? Well, what it means is that I've got to redraw my design. That's fine, because it's all wrong anyway. But if I want to stick 2 pickups on there, I think really what I want to do is stick one right up against the neck, which in this case is going to put me sort of very firmly in P-bass territory for that pickup, and then one not too far behind it, probably about there. And of course the bridge will be sitting right on that line there. And that's actually going to be okay. That doesn't look weird or unbalanced to me relative to the shape. Everything's kind of central. It's not going to be too long. It should balance perfectly. And as I say, anyone who's used to that string spacing, not going to have any trouble playing it at all, I would imagine. All I've got to do now is build it. But I sort of can't really do anything else for 24 hours, so it seems like that's probably a good time to end this video. I'm hoping to sort of knock this thing out over the course of the next week or so there'll be a video every couple of days, just as I make decent amounts of progress that I can show you. So yes, thank you very much for watching, thank you very much for subscribing, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers.